正位部位相给相抵，正位正逆相给相抵，保护无阻者相给相抵。Alrighty, let's talk white belt kicks. When kicking, the first kicks that I like to teach at Jing, Jiao, Kwan is your basic five. And by basic five, I mean the ones that you'll see in any style that includes kicking. You'll see these in UFC, you'll see these in karate, taekwondo, you see them everywhere. And there's a reason why you see these particular kicks everywhere. It's because they're awesome. Now we're going to start with our first kick, which for today's purposes is going to be a lead leg roundhouse kick. Now for a lead leg roundhouse kick, the way that I like to do it, it's very snappy. All right, you're going to be in your fighting stance. You're going to lift the leg. Now if you saw, I automatically start pointing my toes down at the ankle. So I'm lifting the leg, I'm pivoting, snap, and back down. Done quickly, looks something like this. And the reason I like doing a lead leg lift, then turn, now you'll notice my heel turn pivots as well, is because it allows me to kind of confuse my opponent when I lift like this. Because I could curl my toes back and do a front kick instead. So they don't know. Is it going to come direct or is it going to come around? And it being lead leg, very snappy, very quick. Now, why do we pivot the back foot? Well, A, reach. If I don't pivot the back foot, I can really only get about that high. Pivot the back foot really opens up those hips and allows me to do a higher kick if I want to. Another thing to think about is that when pivoting that back foot at the same time as snapping out, what happens is that that pivot adds hip power to that kick. Now this is true for our back leg roundhouse kick as well, but still on the lead leg, we lift, toes are down, we lift and we pivot. Now our knee should be in line with our heel. It's kind of like when you're doing the sight of a gun. You've got the front sight and the back sight. The heel does the initial aiming. It's the back sight. The knee tells me exactly where the apex of my kick is going to be. And that's where all the power is. Because if I have my knee like this and I kick, all my power is way over here. I hardly have any power when I kick my actual target, which is standing right in front of me. So you want to have that knee towards your opponent. You want to have your heel towards your opponent, all lined up like so. Now, back leg, same thing, except there's two little pivots on the ball of your lead leg foot. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to lift up, just like before, toes are pointed down. When you do that, you're going to pivot, heel 90 degrees. Then, as you snap out, you're going to pivot 90 more degrees to create a full 180 degree pivot. Boom, you get the snap, foot comes down. Now, especially at the early levels, I don't believe in there being between this and this. Except that it's harder for you to get back. At a higher level, I do think that there's a little bit of a difference, and that the first one where you put your foot straight down is usually better, unless you've hit somebody and you're recoiling off of them. But that's besides the point. So once again, you lift and pivot again, snap, down it goes. Now you'll notice when I do these kicks, my hand does not fling off to the side. That's not an accident, that's on purpose. If I fling my hand down off to the side, what's available for getting hit? If I fling my hand off to the side, what's available for getting hit? It's a bad idea. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So, that's our lead leg roundhouse kick, back leg roundhouse kick. Now, lead leg side kick. I don't teach the back leg side kick at white belt because people will rely on it. And I want you to rely on your lead leg. There's a reason. One, if somebody is very close to you and you do the side kick correctly, where you come in, lift knee, pivot, and stomp, when you do that side kick correctly, you can push somebody away and when they're far away, you can still put a lot of power into it, okay? And it's quick. Whereas if I do this, you can see it a mile away. Now, so for that lead leg psychic, here's how we're doing it. We're drawing our foot in. We're not just coming straight out. There's no power, it's all just a swing. Because the whole point of a psychic is that we are making use of motions that the body already does. This is a psychic, I'll just do it right now. That's a psychic. Ew, gross bug. Psychic. So, we just want to take that downward stomping pressure and bring it out 90 degrees. That's all we're doing. How do we do that? Pivot the foot. Gee, it's almost like there's a reason we do pivot the foot. So when we slide in and we lift our knee up, that knee should be about belt level and your toes should not be pointed down. They should be curled up. You pivot, oh look, you're naturally ready to stomp on your opponent's face, torso, gut, or no square. So, slide in, bring it up, stab out. Done towards the camera, it's slide in, and it's not back here, it's not here. That just turns it into a roundhouse kick. I see that all the time. It's slide in, bring it up, forward and up, okay? It's in front of my big fat belly. Boom, pivot, stomp, and break down. And always make sure that you re-chamber so that somebody like me doesn't come along. Thank you. Goodbye. Now, that's our lead leg side kick. Finally, we have the easiest kicks of the bunch, and that's our front kick. So starting with the lead leg, we lift, pull our toes back, snap out. Don't push off the ground, lift off the ground. This will give you more stability and power. If you push off the ground, you've got all this motion bringing you backwards. If you lift, you don't have as much motion pulling you away from your target. So lift, pull our toes back, snap out, and bring it back. It's very simple. And you want to make sure that you are snapping it. Not because teeps are bad, but because we don't want people catching our kicks. All right, different rule set. This is for, we don't want to get thrown onto the ground. Back leg front kick, same idea. We're going to lift, keeping our knees pretty close together. Knee comes up to about belt level, toes are pulled back, snap it out and bring it back. Or forward, take your pick. Now you notice that time I let my foot pivot a little. Gives me a bit more range. You can do it without pivoting, or you can pivot to get a little higher up on the scale. Doesn't matter, both are powerful. One just gives you a bit more range. You don't always need it. And the pivot, I love the pivot, but when you do pivot, it's a little less stability. So on front kicks, where you probably want to be a bit more stable, because you don't need the pivot as much, you just don't do it as often unless you need to get a little higher, which is okay. So, white belts, that's your kicking scenario for this belt cycle. Practice daily. Minimum 10 of each kick every single day on both sides. Got it? Get it? Good. Cheng Wei Wu Wei, Xiang Ge Xiang Di. Cheng Wei Cheng Yi, Xiang Ge Xiang Di. Ba Hu Wu Zhu Zhe, Xiang Ge Xiang Di.